Noah Wilson also hurriedly agreed. Yes, Claire, your father's health is important, not only to have a good environment, but also to have a good mood. So, you just listen to your grandma's arrangements, come back and live. I will ask a few nanny to take care of your father 24 hours a day. Jacob was lying on the hospital bed. After hearing this, he was immediately moved. When he was moved, his heart was a little shaken, his brain was hot, and he couldn't help but ask Claire, Claire, let's move back. Claire was also a little tangled at once. For a while, she would not be able to figure out whether Grandma was like this out of truth or falsehood. But seeing Grandma, Dad, Uncle, Mother and son holding hands and crying together, I was more or less moved. Moreover, for the sake of her father's recovery, if he can return to Wilson's house with a good environment, a good mood, and proper care, he will definitely be able to recover faster and better. Elaine also persuaded at this time. Claire, what a great opportunity. What are you still trying to do? Hurry up and agree. Claire was a little hesitant at first, but when she saw that her parents were persuading, on the spur of the moment, she said, well then, just move back. Old Mrs. Wilson's expression was immediately happy, and her heart was extremely excited. It's done. Ha ha ha. Sure enough. Sure enough, life is still old and spicy. Jacob is just a rubbish. Elaine is a money addict who sees money. Charlie is a rubbish who can only deceive people. Claire seems to be a bit capable, but it's not impossible tricked her. Has the bitter trick been completely settled? Thinking of this, Mrs. Wilson couldn't be more proud of it. Noah Wilson couldn't help but quietly give the Lady Wilson a thumbs up, and his admiration for his mother at this time was like a torrential river. Mother is indeed an old world. This drama is almost at the textbook level. It starts with younger brother Jacob as a breakthrough, and then curves to save the country and impress Claire. It is perfect. Seeing that his wife was going to be fooled, Charlie hurriedly said, Grandma, Uncle, it's natural to move back to live in the first place, it's no problem. Harold frowned, and shouted coldly, but what? Our Wilson family's affairs, what's the matter with you? Don't you talk too much? Old Mrs. Wilson raised her hand and slapped Harold, and shouted angrily, how do you talk to your brother-in-law? Keep your bullsh tea to yourself? With this slap, Harold was stunned, and immediately understood. D***mn it. He almost got into trouble because he couldn't help but mock Charlie. If he really can't help it, and ridicule Charlie, revealing the truth of repentance on the surface but no correction in the heart, then the perfect plan of Grandma's use of bitter tricks to trick Claire's family back may be revealed. Thinking of this, he panicked and immediately said to Charlie, I'm sorry, brother-in-law, it's my mouth. It's my mouth. Please forgive me. As he said, he slapped himself twice, appearing extremely sincere. Charlie couldn't help but sneered in his heart. Okay, the Wilson family really gave up everything in order to act in this bitter drama. In order to expose the true colors of this group of people, Charlie said, I just said that it is okay to move back to live. After all, they are all a family, but now Claire's studio is already in operation, so I have to say in advance. She won't go back to work in the Wilson group again. What? The old Mrs. Wilson suddenly seemed to have been stepped on her tail, and instantly jumped up and said, how can it be done? I said, not only do the family need to live together, but the energy must also be used. Back to the Wilson family, but not to the Wilson group. Charlie smiled and said, Grandma, you just said that it was for the convenience of taking care of father-in-law. That's why you invited our family back. It doesn't matter if we go back, we also agreed, but going back to the Wilson group is not the same as going home. Right? No. Mrs. Wilson said categorically, since she has returned to the Wilson family, she must return to work in the Wilson group at first. After that, she continued to flicker Claire, saying, Claire, your company has just opened, and there is no business yet. It is very difficult to run a company by yourself. How can you handle it? It is better to shut down the company. Back to the Wilson Group. In that case, your life will definitely be more comfortable and easier. Claire also smacked an unusual smell from Mrs. Wilson's words. It seems that Charlie is right. The Lady Wilson's desire for her family to return to the Wilson family is a fake, but it is true that she wants to return to the Wilson Group. In this case, Mrs. Wilson tossed over and over again. In fact, she was trying everything she could to get her back. Then all her performance just now should be all performances, right? Thinking of this, her back felt cold. If Charlie hadn't reacted quickly, she might have been fooled. So she hurriedly said to Mrs. Wilson, "Grandma, I am very grateful that you have invited our family back to live, but Charlie is right. Going back to live, and going back to work are two different things, not to be confused, so I have to solemnly tell you that I can go back to live, but it is impossible to return to the Wilson Group. I want to run my own studio."